Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Power Over Tomorrow. I am your host and resident financial advisor, Tyrone T.S. Mitchell, and we're coming to you all the way from the office of T.S. Mitchell Financial, LLC, your independent and trusted registered investment advisor specializing in wealth management for your insurance, investments, and taxes, financial planning needs. Remember now, the information that we do share here on Power Over Tomorrow is for educational purposes. It's not meant for the solicitation or the endorsement of any particular stock or investment. Remember, stocks, investments, things of that nature do have risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. So continue to hit us up on Twitter at TS Mitchell Power. Continue to visit the website at tsmitchell.com and continue to follow us on Facebook at Power Over Tomorrow. We do this for one reason, that is to provide you with sound financial information to enable you to make an educated decision concerning your family, your future, and your finances. We definitely want to give a special thanks to our sponsors. We got more than one now. To our sponsors, Zelina Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper to Films Production, Revolution Mills, Renovations. Yes, thank you, sponsors, for helping make this show possible for the listening ear. And all right, for you listening ears out there, we definitely want to say thank you for tuning in. And of course, each and every Wednesday at 6 p.m., we're going to be producing something that will help you understand the mindset that is behind financial stewardship. Yes, there is a mindset. We've often heard the way a man thinketh, so is he. We've often learned that if you can conceive it, believe it, you can achieve it. So these things are important because as we are dealing with this aspect of financial stewardship, I was saying to someone that called earlier today that when they were asking me, Mr. Mitchell, what about this? How do you do that? And I mentioned to him, the way I approach this is from a biblical fashion. Biblical fashion of understanding that all that we have is a gift, and we have to use that gift in a way that it shows God's glory, it gives us joy, and provides benefit to others. And some of you may have heard me say this before. We want to love people and use money, and not use people and love money. And on that point, our topic for today is money lenders, capital solution or creative pollution. Money lenders, capital solution or creative pollution. We want to look at this fast cash alternative that people use for their personal use and even for business use. When we get a chance to see what we're talking about, hold on. Before I go there, there's something that's on my mind right now. I just want to elaborate a little bit as a precursor to talking about why is it that we need to be mindful of fast cash alternatives. Here it is. We've heard recently in the news that the current Trump administration, they are looking at doing something, using an executive order, in other words, to bypass something that should go through a congressional vote. They want to bypass that and say, quote unquote, that this is necessary under the Department of Treasury. And what they want to do is they want to change the wording for cost basis. In other words, the term that they're focusing on now is called, or the phrase I should say, is called indexing capital gains for inflation. Indexing capital gains for inflation. This is why understanding is important. First of all, in the financial realm, when we say indexing, we're speaking of making adjustments to the value of something. So when you hear indexing, it's a value adjustment. Capital gains. Capital gains are the increase that you have above your initial investment. So if you have a $2 investment, you bought a stock or something for $2 and you go and sell it at $5. Well, the difference between the 5 and the 2, that $3 in the middle, that's your capital gain. So your $2 is your cost basis, the $3 is your capital gains, and the $5 is the appreciated value. So to do what they are suggesting, adjusting or indexing the capital gains for inflation, this is why it's going to cause such a deficit increase. Number one, the people that really will benefit from something such as this are not necessarily the everyday investors like you and me. Most of our money may be tied up in direct mutual funds, or may be tied up in things such as 401k plans or different types of retirement plans that invest into mutual funds, and those mutual funds typically go out and buy stocks. Well, when we buy mutual funds, we are not buying the stock particularly, we're buying a pool of stocks. And that pool will go up or down based upon market values of the individual stocks. It's like this. If you can be a homeowner and you own one house, okay? Or you can be a developer and own 100 houses, okay? So as a developer, you have access to more than one address because you own 100 houses. But as a homeowner, you own one house, at least for this illustration. Now, when we liken that to stocks, it's like this. When people buy individual stocks of companies, okay, that's different to some degree from buying a mutual fund that buys stocks of multiple companies. When we think of the capital gains, this is important. And everything I say, I truly believe is important. Now, when you're dealing with mutual funds, what typically happens with mutual funds is that the capital gains and the dividends are reinvested. They stay within the pool. But when we're dealing with individual stocks, so if we go out and we buy stocks of ABC company and XYZ companies, right? We own those individual stocks. And as the value of that company goes up, so does the value of our stock. So if we go in and we go back to that $2 value, we buy that stock at $2. And now ABC company is worth, let's say, $10. We have an appreciation, a capital gains of $8. So now, when we pay our taxes, we're paying taxes on the $8 that has been appreciated for capital gains. When we are dealing with this indexing of capital gains for inflation, we're changing where the start point is when it comes to determining how much is in capital gains. When we index, we change the cost basis. So what the Trump administration wants to do is change the cost basis from that $2 and say, okay, well, something that was bought 10 years ago for $2, you now need $7 to buy that $2 that you bought, or to equal the $2 that you spent 10, 15 years ago. Now, when they do that, so now that $10 stock value, okay, has what is called an index, has been indexed for inflation. You bought it at 2. By the time you sell it, you're selling it at 10. Well, they say, well, you held it for X number of years. We're going to give you credit for the appreciation of the $2. So now the $2 that you spent back in, let's say 15 years ago, you need $7 to spend that same amount of money. So therefore, we're going to increase your cost base from $2 to $7. So what just happened? So instead of you having an $8 capital gain, when you index capital gains for inflation, now you've got credit to be where your starting point is now at $7, and now your capital gains is not 8, which is the difference between 10 and 2, but is at 3, the difference between 10 and 7. Why is that something that we need to be mindful of? Well, when we pull money away from the tax structure, that increases our national debt. It's been said that we're possibly going to see, what are my numbers? I think the numbers was $102 billion over the next 10 years. So they're saying the deficit is going to increase should they allow the indexing for capital gains, indexing of capital gains for inflation to go through. You will see a deficit of increase by $102 billion. That is just above $10 billion a year over the next 10 years. Why is that important? Well, number one, that type of change does not benefit everyone across the board. No, because no matter how much we invest, if everyone in America who has a retirement account, some form of investment, if everyone increased their investment, I'm just talking about not the top 1% now, the remaining 99% out there. If they increase their investments twofold, threefold, it will still only represent a small fragment of all the money that is invested in the financial industry. The retirement plans make up less than 10% of all money being invested. While we, on our end, look at that 10% as something, great and grand, but for institutional investors, for sophisticated investors, the retirement accounts just represent a small fragment of the money that's being facilitated through the different markets. We invest heavily in those areas. So we may think that will not affect us, but it does, because the bulk of the taxes that are being paid, it does come from corporate taxes and also the top 5% of wage earners. When you reduce that amount of money that's going into the tax roll, it affects things such as healthcare, education, the military, also, what did I say? Healthcare. All right. It affects our roads. It affects a lot of things. The national security, and our security is needed to be protected, not just physically, but also through technology. Now, if those things are coming under scrutiny or coming under financial stress, well, if they're not paying the money at the top, guess who it's going to hit? Those in the middle and those on the bottom. So when I said a little bit earlier about the trickling down effect, I wasn't speaking about wealth coming from the top and flowing down like rivers of water. No, I'm talking about the financial responsibility to carry this country. I told my sons one time, especially when we were talking about how things stand when it comes to politics. On one side, you have what we call the right, and the other side, you have the left. Look at a pyramid. Look at a pyramid, a regular, acute pyramid. We're all equal sides. Well, when you look at that pyramid, the the base is the widest part of the pyramid, and it's the top that is the smallest. So for the top to stay at the top, the base has to stay far apart. The left has to stay apart from the right. Because if the left and the right sides come together, the top will become too heavy and topple over. So it is important that we understand economically and politically that the system that is set up is designed to keep the left and the right apart. So therefore, when we are dealing with things such as poverty, such as healthcare, such as education, such as the cost of tuition, retirement, Social Security, all of those things that day-to-day living that we go through, when it is kept apart, when the two sides are kept apart, the top continues to be supported. What we have to understand, that if we're going to move up that financial pyramid or move up that political structure, we got to understand how it works. So this concept of indexing capital gains for inflation, it is not designed to benefit those at the bottom of the pyramid or even in the middle part of the pyramid. It's designed to help support those at the top. Because what will trickle down will be, instead of the cost coming from the top, the cost is going to come from the base. Now, why is that important? Because if you are already at the point where you have too much month at the end of your money, where you're already trying to find how to make ends meet, where you're already trying to figure out, how to make $1 out of 15 cents, when you're already at the point of trying to squeeze a dime out of a nickel, when you're already at that point, the great lyricist, the great linguistic lyricist, Melly Mel said what? Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle. Sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. And for those who want to say it, go ahead and say it. Ha, 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 ha. All right, but look here. What we're speaking of is that you're already sometimes at your last turn. And any more weight could be that last straw, that final straw that breaks the camel's back. We've often spoke about how there are marketers out there that want you to spend that last dollar. For every dollar you make, someone once said there are 3 people trying to get it. And one area that we often see is this area called capital solutions, all right, or money lenders. In many areas, we know it as payday lenders. All right, what are they lending you? They're lending money, okay? What's the other one? Title loans. These facilities are not designed to get you, really to get you above water. They are designed to drown you. And that's just the bottom. When you read the fine line, okay, if you take your money right now, and I was sharing this to a gentleman, he said, he just wanted to put his money somewhere and don't want any risk. Well, I had to relate to him the aspects of not keeping up with inflation. Here's what I'm speaking of. You take your money right now, you go to the local brick and mortar bank, and you put your money in the bank, and what will you make? If you make 1%, you're doing good, okay? But if you have to borrow any money, sometimes they're going to hit you with, if your credit is good, and I mean good, you know what I mean, good credit. All right, the type of person when you buy something, you ain't got to worry about if you pay with your card, you ain't got to worry about if the card is gonna clear. All right, so with that aspect, you're only making less than 1%, but when you use credit, when you buy things, If you're on the good side, you may pay 4 or 5%, which is more than 3 to 4 times what you're earning. And if you're on the not so good side, you can be paying somewhere up to 17, 18%. So if you have $1,000 and you put it in the bank, you make less than 1% of the, let me keep it simple. You make 1% on your $1,000. So 1% of 1,000 is what? $1? Okay, $1. As a matter of fact, that's not even $1. That's 10 cents. Wait a minute. What am I thinking of? 1% of 1,000 is 10%. 10 cents. 10 cents. You make 10 cents on a dollar. All right. Now, you take that same money. Take that same money and you use it as credit. Okay. Now, it goes from making 1% to now you having to pay 18%. So that $1,000 now has what? An interest of, let me see. Yeah, the interest of $18. So what happens is you're paying more than you're getting. Here comes a group of people called money lenders. You find yourself needing money and you say, listen, we'll lend you some money. All you got to do is just sign here. But when you do that, you need to read the fine print. Because if we think 18% is high to pay, what will you say when you find out that the new interest rate is 200%? That's what many people find out when they get involved with things such as money lenders. The interest rates on these accounts over the period of time is anywhere upwards of 100 to 250%. That is crazy. So they are not designed to help you. There's an easy way in and there's a hard way out. I mean, there was a commercial that used to come on when I was a kid called the Roach Motel. They, what does it say? They come in, but they don't come out. That's what the Roach Motel was all about. So when you're thinking about this aspect of borrowing from these type of people, you have to be truly, truly careful, because in the long run, what comes down to be is that you will find yourself in a situation that is not to your benefit. And why did I decide to talk about this thing called capital solutions or creative solutions is because in business, you often get advertisement. Many folks talk about they want to go into business, to be self-employed, they want to start their own business. That's great. I teach classes. I talk to a lot of people about the 5 stages, what I consider the 5 stages of business, and how you go through each stage. Well, somewhere along that stage, when you're trying to go through the survival mode to reach the success mode, you get a lot of advertisement. Advertisements saying, okay, you need money for your business. We can lend you money, and they call it capital solutions. All right. Now, on the private side, they typically call it payday lenders. All right. But on the business side, they call it capital solutions. I look at it and I investigate it, and I realize that's just it's a scam. That's all it is. It's a scam. It's just another way to separate you from your money. But what we want to do is not be afraid, but to be aware. When you get in the mail and you deal with people called money lenders, all right? And now, when you look up the definition of a money lender, it says a person whose business is lending money to others who pay interest. You got that? Their job is to lend you money so that you will pay them interest, and they make their money at a high rate, where are the terms that we used to use? I mean, we're getting to the point where we're trying to be so politically correct. You know, money lenders is a razor's edge from a loan shark. Now, and many times in society, they will change the name, all right, or call it, or make it a euphemism. They make it sound nicer. You know, I told someone one time, I said, you know, depends on how you say it. I said, if you walk up to somebody and say, hey man, you a dog, you probably gonna be ready for a fight, all right? But if you walk up to them and say, you know what, you're the big dog on campus, the person will say, I'm not so big, all right? but what did you just do? In both instances, you called them a dog, all right? But it all depends on how you word it. They're still a dog, but you just changed the word to make it come across smoother. So when you hear the term capital solutions, when you hear the term payday lenders, when you hear the term money lenders, those are just smooth, soothing words to make you feel better by with the fact that you're trying to do business with a loan shark. Because when you think of a loan, when you think of a shark, you think of a predator in the big ocean, just you and the predator. It has about 300 teeth, and you only got, and if you got all your teeth, you may only have 32. But your teeth are not as sharp as the shark's teeth. So therefore, when he bites you and you bite him, you come up the loser. So when you use the term loan shark, it throws up a defense mode on us. But when you use the term capital solutions, it makes it sound so nice. That's right. You know, there's a whole lot of other terms out there, but I ain't gonna go that far because I want to keep it nice and polite. All right. But the focus that we're looking at, is putting our money in a position, and also, not before we put our money, let me correct that, is putting our mind in position to know what is happening. So when I talked a little bit earlier about the indexing of capital gains for inflation, what's happening at the quote unquote top of the financial pyramid, that is a notice of awareness for us. For if they're going to index it for inflation, when we're talking about the interest rates going up in the country, all right, the Federal Reserve is looking at the increasing increasing the interest rates. So that means what? While some may say, oh, that means we're going to make more money on our savings accounts. Yeah, but in what portion? You will never make the same amount of interest you're paying if you're using conventional investment approaches. Here we are. Interest rates go up. Loan interest rates go up. It takes loan interest rates go up, inflation goes up. Inflation goes up, the cost of living goes up. So therefore, those who need a tax break the most are the ones getting hit hard. You know, there is something called a bracket. It's called bracket creep. Bracket creep. And what that term is in the financial industry is that because inflation has gone up, now you require a raise. You have to, basically, you get a job that pays you more money so that you can, meet the cost of living. But you get more money, right? But your living standards remain the same. So, and what they're saying is that you are earning more money, but your living standards are still the same. And the reason for that is because inflation has caused an increase in price. So now you are still in the same bracket. All right, not in the same bracket, but you're still in the same lifestyle. But what does change? Because you're making more money, you creep up into a higher tax bracket. Whoa, wait a minute. Does that mean when I ask for a raise so that I can afford the house that I'm living in, so that I can afford to send my child to school, to college, or even to grade school nowadays with all the costs that they have, for me to keep a roof over my head, food on the table, and clothes on my back, I need a raise. And as I strive and work hard to get that raise, that pushes me up into a what? A higher tax bracket. Yes, it does. Now, that does not say you should, okay, not strive for a higher income. No. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is this, is that when you are moving up, okay, you have to plan. You have to have the right type of plans in order to help protect you so that you don't find yourself in need to use these things called fast cash alternatives. Because those fast cash alternatives are predatory lenders. Their goal is to have you continuously indebted to them. For as long as you are in debt, you cannot move forward. It is hard, and I understand it's hard, but it's not impossible to live off of one income. If a husband and wife are two family income, it is important, essentially, that you have to be the ability to save one income. Because if one income is lost due to death or disability, many folks find themselves turning to cash alternatives. Where am I going to get the money from? How am I going to do this? You know, before we had things such as payday lenders and title loan lenders, we had what? The pawn shop. Remember that? We would take our what we consider our valued possession, go down and haggle to see how much money we can get. And oftentimes we would not get what we need, or we would not get the value of it. And I'm saying we in general, not as if I went down there and tried it, okay? But I do know these things do occur. Now, I wish I would have kept that picture. Why did I delete that picture from my phone? My last trip to New York, I was driving down Linden Boulevard in Brooklyn, and there was this big sign, okay, and I'm truthful to this. And if any of y'all in Brooklyn, y'all know the sign. It's on Linden Boulevard, and I think right about on the corner of Rockaway, Linden and Rockaway, if I'm correct. There was a big sign. I don't know if it's still there, but we'll check. And the big sign up there, it says sneaker pawn shop. I said, what? It says sneaker pawn shop. Folks were pawning, you get this now, pawning their sneakers. Now I understand, sometimes, you folks go out and, and pay, $200-300 for a pair of sneakers. And if you got those big ballers from the LeVar Ball family, what are they, $500 a sneaker? Well, I guess that is something you can pawn. But folks were pawning their sneakers just to get a little cash. So these fast cash alternatives, listen here, they don't work. It's a short-term solution for a long-term problem. And the long-term problem that we have is the ability to save money in a way to help offset some short-term needs that come about. We're always going to have those needs. But where do we turn to our solution? Do we turn to money lenders? Is it a solution, or is it pollution? See, a solution typically clears the way. A solution typically provides an answer. But what does pollution do? Pollution clouds your vision. Pollution damages your body. Pollution is geared to destroy, to break down, while solutions are geared to build and increase. They may call it capital solutions, but when you read the fine lines, when you read the amount that folks are indebted to, Now, someone's calling. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to put you on. We're gonna have to put you on lockdown until the show is over. All right. But here we are. When we look at these things, capital solution or creative pollution, the underlying fact, when you peel back that layer of the onion, we call it creative pollution. It's creative because they're finding very creative ways to get you involved with something that can cause you to have financial stress down the road. We don't want that. We want to be able to build our resources, build our financial foundation. We want to be able to protect the things that we've been blessed with. So what do we do to prevent get involved with things such as fast cash alternatives? Well, we have to start. We have to start somewhere. The first place you got to start is to really sit down. All right. And if you're not comfortable doing it with by yourself, then we have financial calculators on tsmitchell.com. Visit our website, tsmitchell.com. Go to the area of, I'll walk you through it, right? As a little boy say, right now. I'm going to walk you through it right now. All right. And we're going to go to the areas of education center. In the education center, you will have financial calculators. In those calculators or in that area, we break it down for you. You can begin to start seeing how much something costs before you make that assessment. All right, so we want to talk about your money. All right, here it is. One financial calculator that we all should use is called, what is my current cash flow? That's right, you have to know from whence your money comes from and from where your money goes. You have to understand what is your current cash flow. Because if you do not understand your current cash flow, you will be looking for cash alternatives as a way to go. So that is what we want to stay away from. So now, understand what is your current cash flow. Okay? When you go to that calculator, it opens up and it gets right to the point. It talks about assumptions, what we're going to look at. We're going to look at things such as your monthly or your annual figures. In other words, how do you want to work it? If we say annually, then your gross income. And I would venture to say, work with your net income, because we understand we make the gross, but we live off the net. If we can make the plans look good for us on the net, then anything above that is as we used to say, is gravy. That's the icing on the cake. So when you're using the financial calculator to understand where your cash flow is, you want to look at it, break it down into small pieces. And I mean, if we can go weekly, we go weekly. But right now we're working with annual and monthly. So take your monthly income, begin to break it down. Look at the interest that you're making on your savings accounts. The savings accounts that are not geared to be used, that are not geared for retirement, all right? Look at your savings account. Do you have any stocks? Do you have any dividends? Where is that money coming from? What about your Social Security benefits? Do you have Social Security benefits? Take that into consideration, all right? So when you begin to look at all of the income that's coming in, now what we want to do is we want to take into consideration the expenses that are going out. You have to know, what is your cash flow? The money that comes in and the money that goes out. In your itemized expenses, when you're looking at your monthly expenses, you put into consideration your charitable contributions to your church, your mortgage or your rent. Do you have a second home? All right. Some folks may have timeshares. All right. Are you paying for that? Well, put that information down. Do you have any automobile loans? What about personal loans? What about your charge cards, your credit card, charge accounts? Do you owe any federal income taxes? Always take into consideration the taxes that are coming out of your paycheck. All right. What about real estate taxes? What about utilities, home repairs, automobile repairs, food, clothing, laundry? Now, the list goes on. And have you ever noticed that the list for the for expenses is often larger than the list for income. I don't know why that is, but it is. But we may not be able to control everything, but we can control something. How are we going to avoid creative pollution and not find ourselves getting caught up in capital solutions, which is a misnomer when it comes to money lenders? We have to know where our cash flow is, and we have to know how the money is flowing. All right, some folks want to make it rain. Okay, well, you can make it rain, but listen here. You know, if you make it rain and your drainage is clogged up and the rain doesn't have no place to go, guess what happened? You're going to find yourself drowning because the water level is going to rise. All right, the debt level is going to rise when you make it rain. The debt level rise because now the money's not going where it's supposed to go. See, if when water comes down the mountainside, it has to make its way to the ocean. And once it makes its way to the ocean, it recycles and it goes up into the clouds as vapor. So that cycle is perpetual over and over again. But when man blocks the natural flow of water, we find ourselves stopping water's natural process, so it has to go somewhere. Someone once said to me, matter of fact, a friend of mine in Texas said this: in the Houston area, in times of past, it used to be nothing but farmland. And when it rained, the soil, the farmland would absorb the water, right? And that you did not have as many floods in low plain areas like you do in this time. Why? Because what did they do with the farmlands? They paved it over. There's asphalt, there's concrete. So therefore the water has no place to go. When we are dealing with finances, if you find yourself making it rain and your money truly does not have the right places to go, you will find yourself getting drowned by debt. And when that debt level rises, you got to find a way to survive. So let us look at how are we going to be able to put money in the right places, so when you do decide to spend a little more than you should, you're not finding yourself in severe debt that you have to use a money lender. Look at your expenses. Begin to calculate how things are flowing. And once you understand how things are flowing, then you can help really direct how the flow is going to be. So let us be mindful that these things that we call money lenders, capital solutions, payday lenders, and what's the other one we said? Title loans. Those things are not geared for you to make it. They're geared for you to stay where you are and further in debt. So one step at a time. The first step I want you to do is, once again, understand your cash flow. Understand your cash flow. And once you get an understanding of your cash flow, then that will help you make more or better decisions when it comes to your financial position. This has been Power Over Tomorrow, and it's truly been my pleasure to be able to speak with you today about money lenders, capital solution, or creative pollution. Our investigation into fast cash alternatives for personal and business use. So when you're looking at how you're going to handle things, by all means, we definitely want you to continue to visit our website at tsmitchell.com. We definitely want you to continue to hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is Power Over Tomorrow. Twitter is TS Mitchell Power. But by all means, take the opportunity to educate yourself take the opportunity to find sound financial information so that you can have and make an educated decision concerning your family, your future, and your finances. Well, my time has come to its allotted end, but I will say this. Throughout the time, when we're able to come back together, continue to visit our website, tsmitchell.com. Send us your questions, your comments, and your concerns, and we'll be able to look forward to addressing them as we go. But in the meantime, in your walk of life, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind forever be at your back. May the sun shine upon you with his warmth, and may the rain fall upon you ever so gently. Until the next time when we can cross each other's path, may the God of heaven hold you in the hollow of his hands. I am Tyrone T.S. Mitchell. This has been Power Over Tomorrow. So SRN Live TV and Facebook and every place else. Ladies and gentlemen, be well, be blessed, and be your best.